The thing about urban exploration that no one tells you is how it changes you. After a while, normal places start feeling fake, too clean, too safe, and too predictable. You begin craving the raw realness of abandoned places, the whispered stories in their decay. That's what my therapist calls an addiction to danger. And maybe she's right. Maybe that's why I'm standing here on a crisp December morning, staring at what has to be the creepiest bunker entrance I've ever seen, trying to convince myself that this is just another video for my YouTube channel, Dan's Urban Disasters. I've got 127 subscribers and counting. The entrance emerges from a hillside like an open wound in the earth. Two massive oak trees frame it, their roots having spent decades trying to reclaim the concrete, creating a grotesque arch of twisted wood and crumbling stone. The steel door hangs slightly ajar, as if inviting me in, and the way it creaks when I push it wider sounds exactly like every horror movie you've ever seen. Well, I say it to my phone camera because apparently talking to yourself is normal when you're a 34-year-old urban explorer. Welcome to another Terrible Life Choice with your host, Dan Mitchell. Today we're exploring what appears to be some kind of military installation I found while hiking in the ass end of Massachusetts. The beam from my heavy-duty flashlight cuts through the darkness, revealing walls painted in that specific shade of government-issue green that screams military secrets were kept here. And the air hits me like a physical thing. Stale, yes, but with undertones of something metallic that catches in the back of my throat. It's colder than it should be, too, at least 15 degrees below the outside temperature. My footsteps echo strangely down the corridor. It's just not the normal reverb you get in empty spaces. There's something off about it, like the sound is being distorted somehow. Each step comes back to me slightly wrong, as if the echo is trying to match my pace, but can't quite get it right. The first 100 feet of corridor exactly what you'd come to expect from a Cold War bunker. Utilitarian concrete, rusted pipes, and that lingering smell of stale air that all abandoned places share. But there's something else here, something that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. The temperature keeps dropping the deeper I go, and the air, well, feels thick, almost syrupy in my lungs. For those of you keeping score at home, I tell my phone camera, trying to sound more confident than I feel. We're about 50 feet underground, and the government apparently never heard of interior decorating. Though I guess when you're planning for a nuclear winter, it's really not a priority. The first sign that this isn't your average fallout shelter comes when I reach what looks like a security checkpoint. A heavy steel desk sits at an angle, its drawers hanging open. Behind it, a wall of monitors stares at me with dead black screens, their glass surfaces reflecting my flashlight beam like vacant eyes. "Hello, what is this?" I murmur, noticing a clipboard still attached to the desk. The paper is yellow with age, but the military letterhead is still quite clear. Operation Shadow Step, Security Clearance Level 4 required. I pan my camera across the document. Well, check it out, guys. Looks like we've stumbled onto something a bit more interesting than your standard duck and cover facility. The rest of the page is mostly bureaucratic gibberish, but a few phrases jump out. Temporal displacement, subject containment, and, most intriguingly, reality stabilization protocols. And that's when I hear the first whisper. It's so faint that I almost miss it. It's just a suggestion of sound at the edge of hearing, like someone exhaling the words, "stay." I spin around, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. But there's nothing there. It's just an empty corridor stretching back the way I came. Right, I say, my voice echoing slightly. It's probably just normal bunker acoustics. Nothing weird about it at all. Past the security desk, the bunker starts to change. The military utilitarianism gives way to something more scientific. The doors here are heavier, with thick rubber seals around their frames. Warning signs in faded red paint advise temporal containment area and reality exclusion zone. I try a few doors, but most are locked tight. Then I find one that's slightly ajar. Its massive hinges frozen with rust. It takes all my strength to push it open wide enough to squeeze through. Holy shit, I breathe, panning my camera around to what can only be some sort of research lab. The room is huge, with high ceilings lost in the darkness above. Banks of ancient computers line the walls, their screens dark and dead, but it's what's in the center of the room that makes my blood run cold. A massive metal ring, easily 20 feet in diameter, standing vertically like some kind of portal. The metal is unlike anything I've ever seen, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. So, I tell my camera, either the government was really into giant mood rings or something way above my pay grade was happening here. Scattered across the lab benches are notebooks filled with cramped handwriting, their pages warped with age and humidity. I pick one up carefully, trying not to let it fall apart in my hands. Project Shadow Step, log entry 47. I read to my camera. Initial test successful. Subject maintains coherence through the first phase of displacement. However, extended exposure to non-Euclidean space continues to result in biological anomalies. A diagram on the next page shows a human figure, but something clicks. Something's wrong with the proportions. The limbs are stretched, distorted, like someone tried to draw a person from memory, but couldn't quite remember how bodies are supposed to work. Well, that's not terrifying at all, I utter, closing the notebook. Totally normal government research, there's nothing to see here. The humming from the metal ring is getting louder, a deep vibration that makes my teeth ache. And is it just me, or is the air around it moving, like heat waves rising from hot asphalt, but wrong somehow and twisted? A crackle of static makes me jump. It's coming from an ancient intercom system mounted on the wall, its metal grill brown with rust. Hello? A voice calls through the static. It sounds distant and distorted. Is someone there? Please, we've been waiting for so long. Oh, hell no, I say firmly, backing towards the door. No. We do not answer creepy voices from abandoned intercoms. That's pretty much horror movie 101. But as I reach the door, the voice speaks again. This time it's clearer, and something about it sends ice throughout my body. Daniel Mitchell? It says. We've been expecting you. I turn and I run. The corridor outside seems different now. The walls are sweating, literal drops of moisture running down the concrete like tears. The air is thicker, harder to breathe, and it tastes like copper and ozone. My flashlight beam catches on something on the wall, a sign pointing to Communications Center and Medical Bay. Below it, someone has scratched 3 words into the concrete. They are watching. The scratches look fresh. I take the turn towards communications, partially because it's away from the humming ring, and partially because maybe there's a working radio or a phone or something. Anything to call for help. The communications center is a mess of toppled equipment and torn cables. Banks of radio equipment line the walls, their displays dark and dead. But one monitor is different. Its screen is on, showing a single blinking cursor. Okay, I tell my camera, trying to keep my voice steady. Either this place has backup power that's been running for 60 years, or something very weird is happening. The cursor blinks faster, then words begin appearing. Welcome back, Daniel. We missed you. Did you enjoy the time away? I've never been here before, I say aloud, and then immediately regret it as the cursor blinks again. Haven't you? Check your arm. I look down at my left arm, where my sleeve has ridden up slightly, and there, just below my wrist, is a familiar mark. A small circular scar that I've had for as long as I can remember. Mom always said it was a birthmark, but now that I'm looking at it properly, it looks more like a military ID injection site. The cursor blinks again. Remember yet? You were test subject 47. You still are. And that's when I hear it, the scraping sound again, but closer now, much closer, and something else, a wet clicking noise like someone trying to speak with too many teeth in their mouth. I back away from the monitor, but the cursor keeps blinking, spitting out more text. You were perfect, the only one who surveyed Phase 1, but you ran, now you're back, and we could finish what we started. It simply said. The temperature in the room then plummets. My breath comes out in visible puffs, and frost starts forming on the dead equipment around me. I start to say, but then memory hits me like a physical blow. A flash of white walls, men in hazmat suits, that same circular mark on my arm burning like a fire. I was younger, much younger, maybe 6 or 7. Jesus, I whisper. The nightmares. They weren't nightmares at all. The cursor blinks. Now you remember you were such a good boy, so brave even when the changes started. My hands are shaking as I roll up my sleeve further. The circular mark isn't alone anymore. Thin black lines are spreading from it, tracing patterns under my skin that look disturbingly like circuit boards. A sound from the doorway makes me turn. The thing in the hazmat suit is back, but now it's not alone. 3 more figures stand behind it, their suits in various states of decay. One has a tear across its faceplate, revealing nothing but darkness inside. Stay back, I warn, backing toward the other door. My voice sounds strange in my ears, distorted somehow. The first figure takes a step forward, its movement still too fluid, still too wrong. It reaches up to remove its helmet again, and this time, I can't look away. The face underneath it is mine, or rather what my face might look like if it had been sculpted by someone who'd only heard descriptions of human features. And what I mean is that the eyes are too large, too wet, and there are too many of them. The mouth opens vertically instead of horizontally, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. Welcome home, Daniel, it says in my voice, but layered with something else, something that sounds like static and screaming. We've kept your pod warm. I run again, but this time it's different. The corridors seem to bend and twist around me, the walls breathing in and out like living things. The black mold reaches for me with tentacles that look disturbingly like human figures, and I swear I could hear voices in the walls, whispering my name. My heart is pounding so hard that it hurts, but something's wrong with the rhythm. It's too fast, too irregular, like there's more than one heart trying to beat at the same time. I crash through a set of double doors and find myself in what looks like an operating theater. Surgical tools are scattered across the floor, their metal surfaces pristine despite the decades of abandonment. On the wall, a massive screen flickers to life, showing grainy footage of what looks like medical procedures. I recognize the child strapped to the table in the video. It's me. The footage on the screen shows doctors in hazmat suits crowded around the operating table. One of them is holding something that looks like a syringe, but the needle isn't right. It seems to bend in impossible ways as it moves through the air. Subject 47 continues to show remarkable adaptation to the temporal displacement field. A voice says off camera. Unlike previous subjects, cellular degradation appears minimal. The boy's genetic structure is malleable. I want to look away, but I can't. On screen, they're injecting something into my younger self's arm, right where that circular mark is. The liquid looks black, but it moves like it's alive, flowing up my arm in patterns that look exactly like the ones spreading across my skin now. This isn't possible, I whisper. I grew up in Connecticut. I had a normal childhood, I remember. But do I? The memories are there, but they feel thin somehow, like paper masks hiding something else underneath. Birthday parties, school days, family vacations. You see, they all have a strange stage quality to them. A door slams somewhere behind me and I spin around. The hazmat-suited figures are in the doorway again, but they're changing. The suits are splitting open like cocoons, revealing what's inside. They're all different versions of me, each one more twisted than the last. One has arms that spiral like corkscrews. Another's face is just a cluster of eyes arranged in a spiral pattern. The third is barely recognizable as a human anymore. Do you see now? The first one says, its mouth moving in impossible ways. Why you were drawn here, why you couldn't stay away. The urban exploration, the second one adds, the voice like radio static. The need to go deeper, darker, further down. It wasn't a hobby, it was programming. You were supposed to stay, the third one whispers, its words somehow bypassing my ears and appearing directly in my brain. Until the changes were complete. Until you became like us. I back away, but there's nowhere to go. The black lines under my skin are spreading faster now, forming complex geometric patterns that seem to shift and move when I'm not looking directly at them. What? I have to swallow hard to get the words out. What did you do to me? We made you better, they say in unison. We made you ready. Ready for what? The wall behind me explodes inwards. Through the dust and debris, I could see it, the creature from the pit. But now I understand what I'm looking at. It's just not one creature. It's all of them. All the failed versions of me, merged and twisted together in something that should not exist, and yet it's still growing. The mass of twisted flesh and warped limbs fill the entire chamber, its surface rippling like disturbed water. I could see faces in there, my faces, all of them screaming silently as they merge and separate in endless patterns. Do you see now? The hazmat-suited figures say in unison. This is what happens when you try to bridge realities, when you try to exist in too many places at once. The thing that used to be me, all of them, reaches out with dozens of arms, each one ending in hands that spiral into impossible geometries. The Cold War was never about nuclear weapons, one of the figures says. It was about finding other worlds, other versions of Earth, and we succeeded too well. I back away until I hit the wall. The black lines under my skin are moving faster now, forming patterns that hurt to look at. My fingers are starting to feel wrong, like they're trying to bend in new directions. But you, another figure says, you were special. Your mind could handle it, could process multiple realities at once without breaking. We just need to adjust your body to match. The massive creature pulses, and I feel something respond inside me, like recognizing. And that's why you came back, the third figure whispers. This procedure was never finished. I look down at my hands. The skin is translucent now, and I could see things moving underneath, bones shifting, tendons reorganizing themselves into new patterns. No, I say, but my voice comes out very wrong, layered with other voices, other versions of me. I don't want this. Want? They laugh, a sound like static and breaking glass. Did any of us want this? We're beyond that now. We're beyond human. We're beyond reality itself. The creature reaches for me with hundreds of hands, and I feel myself reaching back. Not with my arms, but with something else. Something that's been waiting inside me since I was 7 years old. But as my flesh began to ripple and change, as the boundaries between me and this creature start to blur, I remember something. That photo in the armory. The soldiers' strained smiles. They weren't hiding something. They were fighting something. And with what feels like one last purely human thought I'll ever have, I reach into my backpack and pull out the flare I always carry for emergencies. The creature recoils. All of them recoil. All of them recoil as I strike it. Red light fills the chamber, and for the first time I could see the truth. The walls aren't concrete at all. They're covered in symbols, mathematical formulas, and geometric patterns that seem to bend reality around them. And they're burning. The flare's light catches the edges of the symbols, and they ignite like tissue paper. The fire spreads impossibly fast, racing along the walls in patterns that mirror the ones under my skin. The creature, the other one, screams with 1,000 voices. The hazmat-suited figures try to run, but they're caught in it too. Reality seems to be unraveling, burning away layer by layer. I run for the door as the chamber collapses behind me. Geometric fires chasing me through the corridors, and every single I pass bursts into flames, and with each one, I feel something inside me burning too. The black lines under my skin are turning to ash and flaking away. The corridor twists and bends, but this time it feels different, like reality is trying to right itself, to snap back into proper shape. I run past the armory, past the security desk, past all the places where the walls between worlds had grown thin. And then I see it, actual daylight streaming through the entrance. I burst through the entrance, the fires still chasing me. The evening air hits my lungs like a shock, clean and real and wonderfully normal. Behind me, the bunker entrance glows with impossible light as reality tries to stitch itself back together. The creature, the thing made of all my other selves, screams with 1,000 voices. I could feel it trying to pull me back, not with physical force, but with something deeper, like gravity but made of memory and possibility. You can't escape what you are, the voices call after me. You're already a part of us. But they're wrong. The burning symbols did more than just destroy the facility. They burned away whatever they did to me all those years ago. The black lines under my skin are almost gone now, flaking away like ash in the wind. I stumble away from the entrance, watching as the concrete frame begins to fold in on itself. It's almost like watching origami in reverse, reality bending and increasing until the entire entrance is simply, well, it stops existing. The woods are quiet again, normal again. The only evidence that anything happened at all is the smell of ozone in the air and the scattered ashes of what used to be under my skin. I check my phone. It's working again, and I've only been gone for 3 hours. The video is still there, recording right up until the moment the power died. I should delete it, pretend none of this ever happened. But instead, I hit upload. Let them think it's fake. Let them think it's just another urban explorer's attempt at viral fame, because the truth is still down there, somewhere between realities, waiting for the next person who wants to go deeper than they should. As for me, I've got a stamp collection to start. But sometimes, late at night, I catch myself looking at maps, searching for other bunkers, other facilities, and sometimes, just sometimes, I swear I could feel something pulling at me, calling me back to the deep down dark. After all, you can burn away the changes they made to your body, but you can't burn away the knowledge of what's possible. The video goes viral 3 weeks later. Not on YouTube, it never gets more than those original 127 views there, but it spreads through darker channels, through message boards and encrypted chats where people trade stories about secret government projects and holes in reality. They call it the shadow step footage. Frame by frame, they analyze every second, every glimpse of twisted corridors and impossible geometry. They find things I didn't even notice while I was down there. Symbols hidden in the rust patterns, faces in the shadows, movements that don't follow the normal rules of physics. But nobody ever finds the bunker. The coordinates I included in the video description lead to an empty clearing in the Massachusetts woods. No entrance, no concrete, no trace that anything was ever there. Sometimes I get messages from people who want to know more. They ask about Project Shadow Step, about the other realities, about what it felt like to be unmade and remade. But I never answer. I keep the video up, keep hoping that YouTube account with its 127 loyal subscribers grows. And every now and then, I check the view count. It never changes. Exactly 127 views. But the number of comments, that keeps going up, even though the comments section is always empty.